Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of this tutorial. So if you're new here, I will have part 1 down in the description below. You can follow along with in real time. We did the pink petals here, pink and purple. And I also have the reference photo and the line drawing down in the description below so that you can get your drawing down accurately and just follow along with the colors. I'm using watercolor pencils, but you can use colored pencils for this if you want. And yeah, we're just going to get right into this. So we're going to start with the blue petals today. And I'm going to start with the light phthalo blue, which is 145. And I'm going to start focusing on this outer petal here. And you know what, before we get going, we'll use an eraser or a kneaded eraser just to start lightening some of these lines, because I didn't do that beforehand. So we'll just lighten the ones that we're going to work on right now. And if you just want to lighten one petal at a time, that's perfectly fine. These petal lines can get kind of confusing, so if you're not exactly sure which one's which, then keep them a little bit darker until you're ready to work on that one specifically. And the nice thing about these videos is you can always pause them, rewind them, rewatch them, so you'll know what's going on. Okay, and we'll do this one here. And I don't mind if a tiny little bit of graphite shows through. That's fine with me. I just want, you know, because you still want to be able to see your sketch while you're working on it. There. Okay, and I am going to try to zoom in a little bit this time so that you guys can see a little bit clearer, because I realize this is a very small picture on a large screen. So I'll try to do that for you too. But we're going to start with that light phthalo blue. And I'm going to start it down on this outer petal here. And again, I'm just going to go along the outline. Anywhere I actually want there to be like a line, I'm going to press a little bit harder, sort of like a medium-ish pressure. If we're doing light, medium, and hard pressure. So I'm not pressing hard enough that I'm going to break my lead of the pencil, but I am pressing, you know, enough that it's going to show up in a nice line. Okay, and then I'm going to take this color and fill in most of this petal as well. I'm going to leave a little bit of space right along where this other petal would be, because there'd be a little bit of a shadow there. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a space there for a darker color. And I'm going to start filling in sort of like 2/3 from here. So if we drag this color, if I'm looking at the reference photo, sort of dragging it along up this way, and I'm going to fill in this half out here. I hope you guys are liking these tutorials, and if you are, it really helps my channel out if you could like the video, leave a little comment, even something just as simple as, you know, nice tutorial or enjoyed this one, or if you have any feedback for me, certainly leave it down in the comments as well. Just shows YouTube that people are enjoying these tutorials, and then they will show them to more people in return. And then I can keep making them and people can keep enjoying them, hopefully. But I really appreciate everybody that's been supporting me so far. And I'm thinking about making maybe like a Facebook group or something like that, so that, you know, anyone that is following along with these tutorials can share their artwork. But I don't know if we'd really have enough people to do that, or enough people that would be interested in that. There's already so many, you know, Facebook groups out there that are great that people can share their art in. So I don't know, just a thought. Let me know. Also, I'm trying to keep my picture here centered, so I'm not always like turning it around on you guys, but if you're having trouble, you know, getting up close to some of your edges, then by all means turn your picture around if you need to. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so I'm going to go into this, I'm going to start going into this petal here. So I'm skipping where I'm going to have some of that shadow. And I'm going to line this petal a bit to about here. And then there's also a shadow that comes along here. So I'm going to start filling in this area. And as it comes here, there's sort of like a greenish hue that starts coming around and taking over. So I'm going to sort of keep away from this area here and just focus this blue pencil along here. And some of this we're making up because we don't have, you know, the whole reference photo. Some of it's cut off. So we're taking some artistic liberties here and, you know, creating the piece. That's the fun thing about art. You don't always have to follow the reference photo exactly. You can kind of make it your own. Okay. Then I'm going to take this color over here as well and sort of do the top edge along here. And again, I'm going to sort of press a little bit hard here just to get that nice edge of where that petal is going to be. And if you saw part 1, you know this would be a piece of glassine paper, but you can certainly just use a piece of regular paper underneath your hand if you don't want to get, you know, smudge any of your colors or your artwork or get any of the oils of your hand on your piece. And then I'm just going to bring the color down just slightly, not a whole lot. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with, I think we'll go in with our middle phthalo blue right now, and we'll start putting in that shadow. So I'm going to put this color along here where we left it blank on this petal. This is going to be our shadow color. And again, I'm just going along the edge. I'm not pushing very hard because we've already pushed a little bit with that light phthalo blue color, but I want to make sure that we have like a nice line where the two colors are meeting. And again, here I'm going to make a nice line. And I'm always pausing and looking at my reference photo just to make sure I'm putting everything in the right place. And you know, if you mess up, it's only a flower, it's a rose. Nobody's gonna know. It's no big deal. Now I'm going to save some space over here because there is a really nice dark shadow down there, so we'll leave that so that it really gets nice and dark and punchy. And I'm just going to lightly glaze this color up a little bit here. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with my ultramarine, which is the 120, and I'm going to focus it in this section here, where we've got like a really nice different blue going on. So I've picked my ultramarine color for there. And again, I'm just going to work on the lines first. And I don't have my pencils super sharp for this because they do lay down and blend out very nice. But if you're finding that you can't get, you know, nice lines like this, then maybe you want to sharpen your pencils up a little bit. Or just be careful when you're coloring up to the lines that you're not going over them. And if you do, again, it's no big deal. You can always just pretend there's a blue shadow somewhere, you know. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go in with the sky blue, which is 146. And I'm going to go along this top edge right here in this bluish greenish petal. And I'm going to fill in most here, so sort of around maybe halfway through there's like a dark shadow that comes in, so we'll kind of break this off this way. So I'm going to fill in this area and right here. Now, let me know if you guys like seeing this all in real time, or if you'd rather me sort of explain what I'm doing, show a little bit, and then speed it up, and then explain the next area, show a little bit, and then speed it up. Because I'm just trying, you know, I know when I was first starting out, I really enjoyed being able to see every step of the way, what they were doing, but everybody's a little bit different. So just let me know what you prefer, and I will try to you know, do my best to provide that. Okay, and I'm also going to take this color and put it a bit in here, so there's sort of about halfway through here, or about where this little petal lines up. And we're going to take this color and sort of swoop it around in an arc and sort of meet it over here. So I'm going to kind of focus it like this. And I'm just going to lighten this part just a little bit here. Just taking my kneaded eraser. There. And I keep it in this so that it doesn't dry out. I don't know if they do or not, but I've just always sort of kept it like that. And then it keeps any like pet hair and dust and anything off of it. So it's just a little plastic container that I got at Walmart. And I find it's kept this in good shape. I've had this for, oh gosh, months and months now. So, little tip for you. Oops, and we're throwing pencils around. Let's not get too excited over that. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go back in with the light phthalo blue. And there's a little blue petal right in here that I'm going to fill in. Okay. And I'm going to take this light phthalo blue as well and put a little bit of it sort of right in the middle of this area. So where we did this line here, I'm going to sort of put it in the middle here between these two. And a little towards the bottom. Okay. Then I'm going to go back in with that middle phthalo blue. And there's a little spot right here where it's going to be a little darker. Right where there's a shadow there. And then I'm going to put this color over here. So this is that same color that we put here. And I'm going to put it over here a little bit. I'm going to leave a space for a darker shadow though. And I'm also going to put it in this other area here, so there's sort of like a dark shadow that comes around. If we're following this line, this is sort of all dark here, but I'm going to put this middle phthalo blue in this area. And it's sort of always, you're always looking back at your reference photo, always seeing where you need to adjust the colors. You know, it might not, you might lay it down and go, oh, maybe I need a different color there. And you can always go on top, change the color. It's no big deal. All right. So then I'm going to start going in with some of the darks for the blues, and then we'll get our like greenish blue colors in. So I'm going to go in with the Prussian blue, which is 246. And I'm going to start to lay this down. I'm just going to do a little light. I'm not going to push too hard in this area where it's a shadow, but it has to be a little bit darker than the other spots. But I'm not going to press hard. I'm just going to kind of go over it lightly, because we can always make it darker, but once we make it too dark, it's hard to lighten that area up. And then along where these two petals meet, I'm also going to go along and just do a little line. Just a slight line, and I'm not going to drag it out too much, but just to show that there is a petal overlapping another one, so you want to have some sort of dark shadow right along the edge. And then I'm going to let it fade out there and have a little bit more as it comes in here. I see a little bit more dark on this side, so that's where I'm going to focus it. And then it sort of fades off there. I'm also going to put this color right under the edge of this petal here. And I'm also going to put it sort of under the edge of this petal here. And again, I'm going to go, make that line at first, because I really want some of these edges to be nice and defined. And then I'm sort of just going to fade it out a bit here. And same thing along here. I'm going to start this color down here, sort of just on the bottom third of this area, and bring it along in here. Now I find when I have a complicated reference photo like this, and you might look at it and think, oh, it's not complicated at all, but for some people just starting out, they might think that it's quite complicated because there's so many different colors and where do they go, where are the shadows going. So I find if you can break it up, you know, into color schemes sort of, and just work from one area to the next, it sort of lays out some groundwork. And then once you get all your colors down, you can go in and say, okay, for my piece, what do I think it needs at that point? Do I need to bump up my darks? Do I need some more saturated colors in there? You can sort of look at your own artwork and decide what you think will benefit it. Okay, and I'm going to sort of fill in maybe half of this shadowed area here, because the other half, maybe a third of it, because the other half is very dark. And I'm just going to lightly glaze over this color just a little bit. Help those two colors blend. And same thing, I'm going to put this color just a little bit under the edge here. Not very much at all, but just to show again where this petal overlaps, there is a little bit of a deeper shadow right there. I'm gonna run just a tiny bit under this one because I see a little bit of a blue shadow in there as well. And then just a little bit sort of surrounding this shadow on this side, and then it turns into sort of a greeny shadow. Okay, and then I'm going to put some in here as well. And then I'm going to go back in with that light phthalo blue and sort of just get the edge of this petal, and I am pushing a little bit harder here because I want that nice bright edge of this petal. And then I'm going to switch back to the middle phthalo blue, and that's the 152, and I'm sort of going to fill in between. Okay. Now I'm just looking back and reassessing. So I think I'm going to take some more of that Prussian blue and fill in this dark shadow over here where that leaf is sort of going into the purple area. And I'm just looking sort of how it curves down. And I'm just following those edges, and it sort of comes to a little point there. And then I'm going to bring a little bit of that shadow up and under this petal, just to show that it's, you know, going under that one. And then I think that's it for that color. Then I'm going to take the Indanthrone blue, which is 247, and I'm going to start putting this into our darkest shadows. So this area right in here, we're going to fill in with this color. And once we blend all this out, it will really come together, and you'll see, you know, the lights and the darks will pop a little bit better, because some of it just looks almost like the same tones right now. But once we add some water, it'll give it a little bit more dimension. And I'm just going to glaze a little bit of this just right here, where that petal goes underneath the other one. Again, just to show some variation, that something's going on there. I'm going to take this color and fill in most of this area. Okay, and I'm going to fill in this area too, but this is a really dark shadow, and same in here. I'll probably go in and glaze just a little bit of black over top, really just to darken up some certain shadows in here. And this is sort of connected to this shadow along here too, so. What I'm going to do, so it doesn't look like two different shadows, I'm going to continue this color and just color over top of this shadow as well, coming along here. I'm going to try to keep it just to the edge of that petal, just to have some consistency in that shadow. Okay, and then I'm going to take this color. Now there's a little edge right here where the leaf, the petal, I keep calling them leaves, but they're petals, sort of like curls under. So I'm going to take the middle phthalo blue and just fill in. Actually, you know, I might take the light phthalo blue because it's not that dark. It's still pretty light. So I'll take the light phthalo blue and just fill in this little tiny spot here, just because there is a little bit of a color difference between the two areas. And then if we decide we don't like that color difference, we can go over it afterwards. No big deal. And then we'll go back with the Indanthrone blue, and I'm going to start filling in some of this shadow here. So I'm going to come under here, and I'm going to outline just a little bit to about maybe almost just right here. Not very far, because then it turns into like a greenish shadow. And we're just going to fill in here. And again, I'm still not pressing hard. I would say light to medium pressure. For all of this, the only places I'm pushing harder is when I'm doing those little lines. Okay. And I'm going to take this color in here as well. So we put some of it here, I'm just going to carry on under here, and I just want to darken up just this bottom part of this strip here. Just because I really want to make that different. Okay, so I'm seeing I need to darken up this spot right in here. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and then now a lot of this is dark in here, so I'm gonna just start taking this color over. I'm just sort of outlining, and I'm just gonna bring this color down a little bit. Again, just so our black has some variation in it, because we will put some black in there. And again on this side as well, just a little bit. Okay, and we'll probably leave this because when we do our like yellow and orange petals, it's sort of like a little bit of a warmer shadow going into the black area there, so we'll leave that for now. Okay. So I think I'm going to finish off this petal down here. So I'm going to take the light cobalt turquoise, and I'm going to fill in this area to about here, and then it starts sort of like a greenish shadow there. And I'm just overlapping the colors a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to continue with this color on the top part. And you know what, maybe we'll take our kneaded eraser or your eraser of choice and just get rid of these lines right here, where I'm going to put this color in, so just this petal here. Okay, so I'm just going to go along the top here. Now I'm not pushing too hard here because this is sort of just a glaze underneath. And then I'm going to go in with the cobalt green 156, and I'm going to lay this down. And this is what I'm going to go and push just a little bit harder along that edge there. Not terribly hard, but enough so that it'll show up and give us a nice crisp edge. Okay, And then I'm going to go in with the grass green 166, and I'm just going to glaze lightly over it here just to give it that bright greenish hue. And less is more usually because this is such a bright color. And it's the cast of like the bright green leaf casting on this one. So I'm just going to do enough so that it shows up a little bit, and just a tiny bit around this edge here slightly. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with that indent throne blue one last time. And there's sort of a dark area in here that I'm going to get as well. And I'm just going to follow this line here. And then it's sort of maybe just the bottom third that's the darkest. So I'm just going to fill in right here. Maybe even the bottom, like if you split it into fours, maybe it's like a quarter way. So just along here. And it's going to meet up at the edges of that other petal. And maybe just slightly under this one. Just ever so slightly. There. And then I'm just going to go in with the black in a couple of places and just glaze it lightly. So just in this little corner here where it's the darkest. And our black can get pretty powerful. So again, less is more to start out. And I'm just going to keep this to like this bottom edge here. Just where our darkest darks are. And again, a little bit over here. So I'm going to go up to about maybe a third way on this petal here. And just glaze it and blend it into that color that we had laid down before. And again, a little bit in here. So I'm probably just going to keep it to this area, and we'll do this area after. So I'm following along here. There's sort of like a petal that comes along here, and I'm just making an edge under it just to show there's a dark shadow. Okay, and I think that's good for right now. So I think we're ready to blend out. And again, I've got a medium and a small brush here. So I'll probably start with the medium, and then as we get to the smaller areas, I'll go to the small brush. And I always start light to dark. Now you can use a regular brush in a jar of water if that's all you have. Okay. I'm going to make sure I have a good amount of water on the brush so that will blend out. And take your time doing this. You don't have to do it fast at all. You just want to work one area to the next because you don't want, one section to dry and then you get a harsh line there when you try to go blend into the dark afterwards. And don't be afraid if it messes up or it's looking a little streaky or anything like that. You can always layer over it. It's no big deal. There's no mistakes in art. Most anything you can fix. And I just love how these watercolor pencils blend out. They just blend out so smooth, so nice. Now, if you're using a water brush, be careful going up against two areas while they're still wet. I'll do that with this one because I don't mind if a little bit of blending happens, but this brush isn't so wet that it's going to leave puddles on the paper. And the paper does dry pretty quickly using this method. So I can kind of get away with that. But if you notice that it's really wet from using your brush, just skip to another area and let it dry as you're going. And this area sort of just blends out into the other colors, so that's what I'm trying to do. Just soften it out and let it blend out down into there. And I'm being careful in the areas where we added the black. I don't want to drag that out into the other colors. I want to drag those colors down into the black so that we don't risk, you know, creating pulling that dark into areas that we don't want it intentionally. Now I'm going to blend out this area, but you could leave that area until we start putting the greens in, but they'll just blend over top of this area anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. And I'm going to come along in here where we put some of that blue as well, just to sort of marry the two colors together. And just follow along. So again, anywhere where, you know, we're going to end up blending another color into it, feel free to leave it if you want. But I'm going to have everything pretty much blended out now, and then you'll see as we go over top with other colors, the colors really blend nicely into each other, even after they've already been wet and then re-wet it, or you know, more color put over top of it. I'm just making sure to drag the color away from that area, because I don't want it to go out too much further than what I want. I'm just trying to get a really nice crisp line there. And then I'm gonna get this little tiny spot here, but I'm gonna be very careful not to go towards that dark, dark blue. Okay. And then I'm just gonna make sure my brush is nice and clean. And I guess I really didn't need the little brush. There, I think this is where we're gonna leave it for part 2 for right now. So I hope you guys can see that. Let me get this little glassine sheet out of the way. So that's sort of how our rose is looking right now. Then the next time we'll come in and we'll do our greens and our yellows over here. And then we can sort of look at it, and if there's anything that you decide you want to change, any dark colors that you want to darken up. And then yeah, and then we'll see what we want to do with the background. I might make that into a separate video. And, you know, if you want to leave your background nice and white, you certainly can. So I really hope you guys are enjoying this tutorial. If you are, please make sure you're subscribed, like the video, hit the notifications so that you know when I post my tutorial/videos, because I do have some other videos coming up as well. And thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye!